EXCO promises quality over quantity.
Quality is going to remain key. There's a need in the market for something that is new, something that stands out.
Players are generally attracted to games that they've already played and that they're comfortable with.
We try to do original elements for all the parts.
Do you think the players are genuinely tired of these kinds of titles?
We start with originality in mind.
And it must be quite difficult to keep each release distinct when you're consciously avoiding things like sequels, reskins, Buffalo.
We also believe that great mechanics, great user experiences will always prevail.
Hello and welcome to the G3 podcast, led by former Yggdrasil founder Fredrik Elmqvist. Independent slot studio EXCO, which is short for Excommunicado, recently announced its entrance to the iGaming industry. It's got a mission statement to stand out by focusing mostly on immersive gameplay and distinct mechanics, as well as moving away from traditional content such as Buffalo and Egyptian-themed titles that we see all the time. So here to tell us more is the man himself. Fred, thanks for taking the time to chat.
Thank you, William. Pleasure to be here.
So you've already built one iconic studio. So what lessons, good or bad, are you carrying into EXCO?
Well, it was a great lesson, the YGG or Yggdrasil venture. I think what we're taking with us from that is less corporate interference, more control, completely independent. I mean, you're dependent on players, of course, and experience and so forth, but leave that all corporate luggage and focus and so forth behind. And then I would say also kind of reinstate the original time period of YGG's early days when the focus was on ideas and creativity and so forth. We're kind of starting there, and we don't want to evolve beyond that, so to say. I think we want to kind of cap it to maximum 50 people, just to put just understanding that we're not there to grow and just be huge in terms of headcount. And I think we are going to keep originality as a mantra for the venture, and it is already being a part of the DNA.
And so the purpose of today's chat was most primarily to talk about EXCO, but there was just something that you said there that I find quite interesting about corporate luggage. Is there, not that in any way I want to kind of speak badly of Yggdrasil, not at all, but is there something that's taken away as a company like that becomes so massive within the iGaming industry? Do you almost lose a design ethos in some way?
I think yeah, and I'd rather not speak about that either, to be honest. But I can just speak more of it in generic terms, that when the company lose focus on the product and the experiences, and it's more about, it could be corporate politics or corporate development and so forth, you tend to swell as a senior management team, and the focus is more on other stuff that is actually not that important, and you kind of lose a bit your soul in that. So I think you want to try and keep your soul intact as long as possible. It's hard to do that when you're adding and you're growing headcounts so quickly, and new functions and administration and so forth. So, and I think people in this venture now they don't want to be in that environment.
Yeah.
People want to be in a fresh environment where you're focusing on the product. They have a passion for the product. They don't have a passion for the other stuff, so to say.
So why the name Excommunicado? How does that reflect the spirit of your new studio?
I think it very much reflects the spirit of the new studio. Well, there's Excommunicado, and this is rebels, right? So rebels they become excommunicated. And I think there are certain people in the organization that feel like they have been there for but they want to come back, and they want to rebel, and they want to do something truly original and great experiences. So I think it's kind of it's a good embodiment, and it's a good it's a good catchword for our spirit inside of the core team.
And your debut title, I've got it written down here. It's
Yeah.
Vague.
Yeah.
Let me try it. Vega Scaling. or for
Yeah,
just
so it's to
download?
play with Vegas and mescaline actually.
Okay.
So it's a bit of a trippy experience. If you see the game, there's a bit of a trippy, glitchy experience. You can take something from Hangover movies. You can take something from Fear and Loathing Las Vegas, and of course your general, your general mescaline trips that everyone had. No, just joking. And so we wanted to play with words, and again, it's more about the originality. The name is going to be a bit hard for people to say, but they search Vegas and we pop up there and they recognize the thumbnails and images and assets. So we see that, and I think that it's this game. We were working with a lot of titles, to be honest, working with not just a lot of, we're working with a lot of projects in parallel, and this game hit the kind of the milestone first. So the required milestones to proceed with product development. So that's why this game is first out. It's not intention that specifically this game is standing out as the first game. It is it just happened to be one of them. We're working with several projects in parallel. That's kind of how we work as well, and we push forward them, and it's a bit of our focus. We're not driven by launch dates. We're driven by production forwarding, and later down the line we decide what game's going to come in what order. Now, that's why you're not going to see a lot of depth in our roadmap. We can talk about concepts, but we're not going to give you factual launch dates until we're 3 months down the line, maybe 4 maximum.
And as I said in my introduction, EXCO promises quality over quantity. So in an industry, as you're more than aware, where output is often king,
Yeah.
how will you make that philosophy, which is a fantastic philosophy, but it's also something that we've heard before, how do you
Yeah.
make that commercially viable?
Well, first and foremost, we know that we can make it commercially viable. We know what the margins are. We know the scalability points are. When you get the players to play your games and be loyal to your studio brand and play what you're getting out, and you grow your distribution network. So that's kind of a number one. And we believe the way to get there is not to push quantity. I think majority of people that are working for us have been in companies where you focus on quantity. You're focusing on the delivery date and launch date. And we wanted to go back to how it is from the beginning. No one starts a new studio thinking about the launch dates. They're thinking about the project. And the challenge is always to keep that mindset as you grow and launch stuff, because always comes some clever person say, hey, we can just we set the date and we can reverse the timeline. But the problem is you need to take a lot of shortcuts there. So we believe that there is quality is going to remain key for people also in marketing of these projects or products, whether it's streamers, reviewers, and whatnot. They want to show something interesting. They want to show something new. They don't want to show up the 2011 Buffalo game or whatnot. I know, unless it's some clever interpretation of something else in there. The Buffaloes or let's say the Buffaloes would be insignificant to the concept, but we try to do original elements for all the parts of the game.
And it must be quite difficult to keep each release distinct when you're consciously avoiding things like sequels, reskins, Buffalo, Egypt. Do you think the players are genuinely tired of these kinds of titles, or are you almost betting on an underserved segment?
So, for us, we start with originality in mind. That's our first thing when we define something, and we want to have the components of originality, of the theme, of the mechanics or features, and that's kind of how it starts. And then, what was your second part of the question there?
Well, just mostly about how you're kind of betting on an underserved segment. So the players are generally attracted to games that they've already played and that they're comfortable with, but there is also a growing segment of players in the crash and hybrid side of things, and also on the slot side that want something different. So how are you looking to serve that particular audience?
Yeah, so we're thinking underserved segments for sure. We're thinking that, but we're also thinking that there's a need in the market per se for something that is new, something that stands out. I mean, we see review companies, popular site, they stopped reviewing everything a while ago because there's no point. It doesn't add anything on. And if they do that, it's the same thing with the operators. And so that's why we're talking about an underserved channel, not just one segment here or a player segment. And we also believe that great mechanics, great user experiences will always prevail. We don't believe that there is a loyalty to a certain theme, that if you like one Buffalo game, you're going to like every Buffalo game. If you like one Egyptian game, you're going to like all Egyptian games. That's not the truth. There's definitely some people out there in this studio development that believes that the theme is the most important thing, but it isn't. We create unique themes and original themes just to stand out, so we are not going to be perceived as that. And then the next layer is the mechanics and the features that we'll have a look at. Yeah.
So many, particularly younger studios, talk about creativity and innovation, but what does that mean to yourself and EXCO on a practical day-to-day kind of design roadmap? How do you ensure that that remains at the heart of what you do whilst keeping the team small?
Yeah, I think you need to spend a lot of time on conceptualization. So you need to develop concepts and redevelop concepts and reiterate the concepts. You need to spend a lot of time developing prototypes and playing prototypes, and of course looking at UX designs, UX design features, and UX designs in general, UX design flows. And you need to look at that without being stressed of saying, well, whatever we're working on now needs to go on the roadmap in 4 months, because that is the killing of creativity when you're forced to shortcut stuff and just fork things out. We spend a lot of time in playing prototypes, developing prototypes, reiterating math, challenging math, and so forth. So you need to spend a lot of time on what we call the pre-TG1 phase, before the first toll gate, before you actually start the production. That's the practicality of stuff. So you need to have a great imagination when you're doing that, because you have very little things that you see. It's a lot of abstract stuff.
And the last time that we had a conversation, we were talking about, I can't remember what the specific mechanics were, but it was a mechanics kind of chat. And with EXCO, you're introducing new features like rapper stacks, boss fights, and the doubling dial, I believe it's called.
Yeah.
How do you ensure that those deliver a lasting impact?
Well, there's the only thing we can do, and the only thing we do is that we believe that it's worth putting a name on it if it has a certain originality in its user experience. If it is original, we say, hey, this is actually something unique, and in the UX flow, in the mechanics behind it, and so forth. And that is what we do. And then it stands out. It has its own name. It has this its own life, and it could be reused in other. It doesn't make it a sequel, but we're just reusing wrapper stacks, as you mentioned here, in other game concepts. Then people will recognize, oh, wrapper stacks, that was from EXCO. That it works like this. No, then you have gained that in the next thing. You kind of created something. And we always want to create a unique experience. We can't just say, hey, someone else calls it that and we will call it that, just to have a different name. It needs to be a different experience in it. Otherwise, it's no point of labeling it anything.
And an interesting part of game design now, and also kind of getting almost a virality to your games, is kind of clip-worthy moments. So the previous podcast guest was Maria, the CEO of B Gaming, and they've done fantastically well on TikTok. So how important do you think that shareability is in modern slot design, and how are you trying to incorporate that, if at all, into your games?
Well, I think that the kind of the core mechanics and the core things, that is still the most important part of the game. But on the other hand, if those experiences are tailored in a way that, they will give that tickle, that adrenaline rush, and that feeling of joy when you hit a trigger and you know what you're looking for and so forth, that itself will be clip worthy. because it will tailor that experience that you're kind of hoping for. The only thing that's different now that there's a lot of people actually recording it, but from a game design development, it's still the same factor. You want to create that pre-adrenaline rush, the chase for that, hitting that specific sequence of all events in the game. So I think from that point of view, nothing's changed. It's just the fact that now it is shared with streamers, private streamers, and all of that much more than it was like 10 years ago.
And just to round us out, could you give me the roadmap? I know you said that you're only within like 3 months,
Yeah.
but like a general overview for yourself and EXCO heading into 2026. What would you like to have achieved, say, come ICE in January, for instance?
Yeah. So just going to say that we are working on a lot of concepts already. We have a lot of stuff in our own roadmap or in our own production and pre-production, but it's not really giving a date yet. But we do have visibility of let's say the 3 or 4 next candidates that's going to hit, because they are much further in production than anything else. So ahead of ICE, I want to have at least 2 more games out. The one is the Robin Goblins, which is quite further on production now. Quite fun game. You can hear it on the name, the Robin Goblins, in a kind of a apocalyptic scenario. Yeah, you'll see it. It's going to be quite fun, unique, original theme for sure. And then we have Trigger. I think those games going to be out by that, and it's this. We have to change the name of that because that was called Mayhem before, and it was a Grand Theft Auto 6 inspired. And then we saw Hacksaw releasing something. We're like, okay, we need to do some changes. But that's fine. They're the big boys. They were out before, so we of course have to handle that. And I think we will probably have onboarded a couple of new people in the team, not to scale up, but just to expand a bit of capacity. And I think thirdly, what we are going to show at ICE will be what is popularly known as promotional tools. I think people, not everyone remember, but we were pioneers at YGG back in the days in creating promotional tools that was built into the game client. I can with pride say that we did that there and then, and that revolutionized what studios were putting on the table. Since then, everyone has done that. The leaderboards, the cash drops, the missions, and so forth. I think we're coming now with a new take on that. If it's 2.0, if it's 3.0, remains to be seen. But there won't be known elements, but in a completely new way that we're going to present at ICE. They're not going to be ready to go out to launch, but we're going to present the concepts and the roadmap for rollout. And I'm very excited because this is going to be some industry first stuff again, but from the studio. So
excellent.
super excited. Hopefully they can change the landscape as we did with YGG back in the days. It looks spectacular already, but for ICE, you can see the roadmap of what we're doing.
I look forward to catching up with you, hopefully in Barcelona, and kind of seeing these promotional tools and the new games that have come out, and having a chat then to talk about what the roadmap is going towards kind of say towards the summer of next year, and seeing how the business is doing. When was the business founded exactly?
So we literally started putting the shovels down in April this year. We fast forwarded very, very quickly since we were building on an RGS that was existing from a affiliated company. So we kind of fast forwarded that, and then that's why we are it took us a few months. We launched the first game in September. But now we're picking up speed. There's a lot of stuff that goes into first. There's a lot of framework stuff that you need to do for your first game that can be reused. So I think we're picking up speed already. You will see a ramp up. Still quality, not driven by deadlines, but we are kind of preparing and developing things better and faster at the moment.
Great stuff. Thank you for coming on the podcast, Fred. I appreciate it.
No, thanks for having me. All right.
Thank you.
Cheers.